where it's like...
So you're an atheist?
Essentially.
Earlier you said that eventually you should go back to...
How did I take my face from looking 50? How did I take my face?
So he got all of his equipment confiscated after he tried being the first IRL streamer out of Antarctica. Just 1 hour after he started live streaming in Antarctica, he has his Starlink taken away and is told that he can't get it back until he leaves the continent. His Starlink is what allows him to live stream from virtually anywhere on Earth. Now the community notes are saying that it was just the cruise ship policy, that they don't allow Starlinks on board because they want you to pay for their internet or whatever, which sure is true because he was on a cruise ship at the time, but in the video you can hear him getting told that he can't get it back even when he goes on land.
Yeah, okay, it's confiscated, you'll receive it on the way back. You can't use it on the land? You can't use it on the land? No.
And then he posted this video saying this is what he saw before they took away his Starlink. Some sort of massive wall of ice with a cave entrance going into something. Antarctica is the most gate-kept landmass on the entire planet, and we occasionally get glimpses of what people who went there claim they saw. Like that time Mr. Beast, who did a whole video in Antarctica, let it slip on a live stream of what he claimed he saw there and got really nervous after.
Have you ever been to Antarctica? Yeah. Do you believe in the ice wall? Yeah, I saw the ice wall. Yeah, you saw it too. I can't say on stream. No way, but we'll talk about it later. That's crazy. Yeah, he almost leaked it. Let's just say you always need someone with you when you're in Antarctica.
Here's another clip of Neon, who claims that Mr. Beast told him something about Antarctica, but it's Neon, so take it with a grain of salt.
No, but you know what's crazy, bro? I kid you not. Chat, is it not possible to time travel? In Antarctica, they have portals. That's cap. Okay. Well, okay, how do you know? Huh? Like, okay, I know. Why? Trust me. Okay, but why? Trust me. You've been to Antarctica? No, I just know. I'm telling you right now, don't ask questions. There are portals in this world.
Last year, this guy, Ethan Guo, tried flying over every continent on Earth and got detained in Antarctica for 3 months after he flew over a tiny little island down there, possibly getting debriefed and being told that he didn't see anything down there. There's this whistleblower, Eric J. Hecker, a former contractor for the government, claiming they're experimenting with high-tech weaponry down there.
In 2010, I was selected to go down to the South Pole Station in Antarctica for an entire year by Raytheon Polar Services as an employee of a third-party contractor for the National Science Foundation. The technology at the South Pole Station certainly can do what it is presented as its primary purposes, and unfortunately, much more. Unfortunately, when they first fired it up, that was when we had the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. There was 2 incidental shots before they were able to target it correctly. This is an earthquake-generating device as well.
This encyclopedia from 1958 that talks about a 13,000-foot-high ice dome in Antarctica. And finally, there's this speech by Admiral Richard Byrd, the OG granddaddy whistleblower of Antarctica.
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Well, Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do. I think year after year, bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
So is everyone just in on some massive joke, or is there something in Antarctica that they're purposely hiding from the rest of us?
Okay, y'all, I've started reading the Ethiopian Bible. Disclaimer, this is not the Bible that we know today. These are books that were originally in the Ethiopian Bible and were taken out by King James when he made the Bible that we have today. I have read the Bible that we have today 4 times front to back. I have also read the Apocrypha, and now I am moving on to the Ethiopian Bible. I wanted to make that disclaimer because this is not considered by scholars to be inspired spoken word by God. It's like secondary scripture, informational, historical, but a lot of people still read the Ethiopian because it was the original. These were the original books that were in the Bible with all of the other books. I'm going to share some of this with you because it is answering a lot of questions. I am not claiming that this is scripture, but it's answering a lot of questions that I had when I read the Bible. We are in the book of Jubilees, or the Little Genesis. So this is kind of like Genesis with a little bit more detail, okay? I'm going to just rattle off a few, so stick with me. And I know not everybody has the Ethiopian Bible, so I'm going to try to take a picture of this and put it behind me so you can see what I'm talking about. So this is the book of Jubilees 2:11. He made on the 4th day, and on the 5th day he created great sea monsters in the depths of the waters, for these were the first things of flesh that were created by his hands. The fish and everything that moves in the waters and everything that flies, the birds and all their kind. Sea monsters were the first things he created. Now, immediately my brain goes to dinosaurs, or what we believe to be dinosaurs, but I digress. Okay, this is the book of Jubilees 2:28. And on that day was closed the mouth of all beasts and of all cattle and of all birds and of whatever walks and of whatever moves, so that they could no longer speak, for they had all spoken one with another with one lip and with one tongue. Animals could talk. Okay. Moving on. And in the 3rd week of the 2nd Jubilee, she gave birth to Cain. And in the 4th, she gave birth to Abel. And in the 5th, she gave birth to her daughter, Awan. I never heard of a daughter before, but that's starting to make things make a little more sense. So we got Awan. Skipping all the way down to Jubilee 4:9. And Cain took Awan, his sister, to be his wife, and she bare him Enoch at the close of the 4th Jubilee. We've always asked who Cain married. Apparently it was Awan. That's starting to make more sense. That answers a lot of questions for me. You know, Cain and Abel, and Cain killed Abel, and then Cain went off and built a city of his own, and we're like, well, where did he get the woman to do this? Apparently his sister. That's as far as I've gotten. So that's all I can share for today, but I am going to be sharing as I read more of this book. Again, I am not claiming that this is scripture. I am simply sharing for informational purposes only, because it's just helping me make sense. I do recommend that you pray and have the Holy Spirit discern for you what's true, what's not, what you need to know, what you need to discard. As always, this is just something that I found in my time in the Ethiopian Bible today, and I'm sharing it with you. God bless.
What you're about to see is not just a mountain. Look closely. Do you see it? That shape, that curve. It looks like a fossil, but not of anything we know. It looks like a dragon, something ancient, something enormous, turned to stone. At first I thought it was just a coincidence, a trick of light, a natural formation. But then I opened Google Earth. I zoomed into Taiwan, north, near Taipei, far away from the noise of the city, into the deep forests, the hills, the cliffs, untouched land. Then I dropped into Street View. Everything felt normal, too normal, until I saw it again. The same shape, the same massive structure, like a spine carved into the mountain. A head, frozen in place, as if something once lived there and never left. No signs, no warnings, no information anywhere. Like it's been completely ignored or hidden. So tell me, is this just a mountain? Or are we looking at something that was never meant to be discovered?
Michael said that his biggest regret was settling that first lawsuit. Remember that one boy?
Now listen to this. I have to tell you this. After I left the party, I get back to the Sheraton Hotel at Universal. There's 4 FBI agents waiting for me in the hotel room. And my mom's there and she's like, tell them what happened. And I'm like, what do you mean tell them what happened? And I sit down with them and they all ask these super sexually exploited questions, backsided questions, and I knew that at my age already. And I looked at all 4 of them and I said, are y'all crazy? I said, what you think I'm gonna do? Tell you that Michael did something bad so that we can sue him for money? I looked over at my mom and I was like, are you serious, Mom? I was like, what is going on here? Why are you letting this happen? She goes, oh, well, I think something happened, I think something. I'm like, that man did nothing but be hospitable, kind, loving, giving. Him and I hung out and talked pretty much all night. Got a couple hours of sleep. I wake up. He's not even in the room. Michael was flirting with girls right in front of me. And it was hilarious because he was very charming. I saw him looking at girls' booty. I said, I saw you looking at her booty. He was like, mm-hmm.
Hey, you ready for the sleepover? I'm about to quick scope you. Hey, you trying to hard scope? No!
How did I take my face from looking 50?
How to create a frequency so strong that reality obeys you? In 1998, a quantum physicist did an experiment that got him banned from conferences. He proved that human consciousness can collapse quantum probabilities. Translation? Your mind doesn't just observe reality, it selects which reality manifests. but 99.7% of people emit such a weak frequency. Reality ignores them completely. Then he discovered the 3-day protocol to amplify your signal 1,000 times. Intelligence agencies classified it immediately. It's called dominant frequency projection, and once you master it, synchronicities become constant. Double slit experiment, Copenhagen interpretation, the discovery that shattered physics. Particles exist in multiple states until consciousness observes them. Then one reality collapses into existence. You're not living in reality. You're choosing which reality becomes real. But here's the problem. Most people's frequency is static noise, doubt, fear, inconsistency. The quantum field receives 1,000 contradictory signals per second, so it delivers nothing coherent. Princeton Engineering Lab, 2003, Consciousness Field Study. They measured electromagnetic output from human hearts, found that coherent emotional states create measurable disturbances in random number generators up to 3 miles away. Your feelings aren't just internal, they're broadcasting electromagnetic commands. Weak frequency equals reality ignores you. Dominant frequency equals reality obeys. Here's the 3-day amplification protocol. Day 1, singular focus. Choose one desire, only one. Multiple desires equals signal interference. Spend 24 hours thinking only about that. Every thought, every decision, every action. One frequency, no static. Day 2, emotional saturation. Don't just think it. Feel it at maximum intensity. Not hope, not excitement. Certainty, gratitude, power. Feel it like it already happened. For 10 minutes straight, 3 times today. This generates coherent electromagnetic output. Day 3, zero contradiction. This is where most people fail. You can't emit, I am abundant, then complain about bills. Every contradictory thought cancels your signal. For 24 hours, zero doubt, zero complaint, zero fear-based talk. What happens after 72 hours? Your frequency becomes monolithic. One clear, powerful, consistent signal. The quantum field must respond. Within 7 days, synchronicities explode. People appear with solutions. Money shows up unexpectedly. Why? Because you stopped being radio static. You became a laser. Reality doesn't respond to weak, scattered signals. It responds to dominant, coherent frequency. Test this starting tomorrow. Day 1, one desire only. Day 2, feel it intensely, 10 minutes, 3 times. Day 3, zero contradiction for 24 hours. And watch reality. Start taking orders from you. This is quantum mechanics applied to consciousness. Share this with someone ready to dominate their frequency.
So you're wearing a cross, does that mean you're a Christian?
Y'all, we are back in the Ethiopian Bible today. Disclaimer.
Man, you listen to all that rah-rah, hoopla, boom, boom, fuck shit. I know you're gonna like this. Sacral, heart, and solar plexus chakra.
You're not going to be talking to my employees like that. Get out of my store now.
Can you really believe they think I'm dead? It's honestly fucking hilarious. They literally have no idea. Hey, Jeff. Can we film another Palm Beach Pete video? This shit is genuinely too funny, man. All right, let's do it. Here, wait, let me grab my glasses. Okay.
You know, funny enough, I actually saw Jeff at a few parties. Yeah, he always looked a little creepy, you know? You know what I say? Good riddance.
Explaining the iceberg of ancient Egypt. First up, we have the Sphinx water erosion theory. This is basically a theory about how the Great Sphinx is significantly older than the Great Pyramids. People think this because the Sphinx's body is significantly more eroded and rounded with these vertical gullies in it that look like it had been carved by heavy, sustained rainfall. Since Egypt has been a bone-dry desert for thousands of years, some argue that this statue must have been built during a time that the climate was significantly significantly different, possibly as far back as 10,000 BC. If this were true, it would imply that there was some sort of sophisticated lost civilization that existed long before the pharaohs. Akhenaten was an alien, so this is a really fun one. Akhenaten was a pharaoh who ruled for 17 years, and some think that he was like an alien. A lot of people think this because this dude looks so weird. A lot of the art surrounding him depicted him with this elongated skull, spindly, skinny limbs, and a pot belly. And his face just looked super weird. Along with this, he suddenly, for some reason, replaced Egypt's entire group of gods with this single sun disk god called Aten. This has made a lot of people that believe in like the ancient astronaut stuff go on about how his extreme devotion to Aten wasn't like a religion. It was rather a literal description of this hovering, shiny craft that gave him celestial instructions, and that he was being influenced by aliens, or that he was from aliens and that sort of thing. And yeah, it is really weird. He was a weird looking dude. Moving on to King Tut's dagger. This is super cool. King Tut had a dagger made out of meteorite that we found in his tomb. So this knife was literally made out of something that came from outside of our planet. It was made roughly 6,000 years ago, before iron smelting was even invented in Egypt, which is important because meteorite was inside of this dagger. Conspiracy theories propose that this is proof of extraterrestrial technology, but the main hypothesis on how this was created was that they used this like low temperature forging technique that was supposedly not even known to the Egyptians at this time. Also, King Tut was Akhenaten's son, so yeah. Pyramid chemical reaction theory. So, no official mummy from a pharaoh has ever been found in a pyramid that we know of. It's possible they were completely looted and now we're just finding pyramids with none of them in them. But a lot of people think that maybe the pyramids were not an actual tomb like we've been taught in school at all, and that rather they were part of this massive interconnected chemical manufacturing system that produced things like fertilizer and fuel. For example, some people think that the red pyramid's 3 internal chambers mirror the stages of the modern Haber-Bosch process to produce ammonia gas. And so apparently people say you can still smell ammonia inside the pyramids due to this chemical staining that is still kind of present. I saw this funny meme this morning about how people think that like the Egyptians built AI and AI forced them to build the pyramids that would like house their AI structure, and then there was a solar flare from the sun that destroyed this AI computer system, and so then the Egyptians now worship the sun because it saved them from the AI. But that's just a meme. Next up we got the Benben stone. So the Benben stone was basically supposed to be the Egyptian mythology's seed of creation. It is represented as this solid mound of earth that rose up out of these dark, infinite waters of chaos, and it's shaped like a pyramid or a cone that sat on top of a sacred pillar. This is so important because they designed like so many things around this. The pyramidions, which is like the top of the pyramid that was golden, that was placed on top of all the pyramids and on top of the obelisks, are supposed to symbolize this Benben stone. Some people think that this stone was a real thing that they found that was made out of meteorite, and people go on about how maybe it had like advanced knowledge or energy or something like that, structures under the pyramids. So this became a big popular thing in 2025. This team of researchers published that they had found this massive man-made subterranean complex underneath the pyramids by using this satellite radar system. What's crazy is they claim that they found 8 giant spiral-shaped shafts that are maybe pillars or wells that extend more than 6,500 feet beneath the surface under the pyramids of Giza. And they claim that these shafts lead to 2 huge cubic-shaped structures. A lot of geologists just think these people have found varying rock density and noise from their satellite data, and that maybe this information is really unreliable because penetrating beneath 2,000 feet of solid bedrock with current radar technology is nearly impossible. But people are really divided on this subject, but it's crazy. If this is real, it's completely insane and would rewrite what we know about the pyramids and all that stuff. Mammoths in Egypt. So this is just referring to the fact that woolly mammoths were alive whenever the pyramids were being built. Some people even talk about how they think that there were mammoths in Egypt because there are these tomb paintings like the one in Rekhmire's Thebes tomb that date from around 1400 BC that depict these small, hairy, tusked creatures that kind of resemble juvenile woolly mammoths. But this would be kind of unrealistic because woolly mammoths usually were in like northern cold climates, and it could have just been dwarf elephants being misidentified as woolly mammoths. But I mean, actual mammoths could have been imported from like ancient trade routes. That would be super sick if they had woolly mammoths and they like kind of helped build the pyramids, like in that one movie 10,000 BC. All right, last topic, we have the Seth creature, also referred to as Set. This is a mysterious creature that was this Egyptian god of chaos, storms, and the desert. This thing looked like this slender, canine-like bodied creature that had long, pricked ears with square tips, a downward curving snout, and a forked tail. I'm sure you've probably seen it more depicted as a dogman looking thing. Unlike other Egyptian deities that are clearly linked to real animals, this Seth creature isn't easy to identify as any specific modern animal. Some researchers think that this was not actually a real creature and it was only from ancient Egyptian religion and mythology, or maybe it was an animal that actually existed and is now extinct, while some people like to say it was just a dog or even an anteater. I could see it being an anteater. It kind of looks like that. Anyways, tell me what you think the Seth creature is. Do you think those structures underneath the pyramids are real? I'm so torn on it. I really want to believe they're real. But anyways, tag me in videos you want me to talk about, and go check out YouTube if you want some longer stuff, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.
Y'all see that cop over there?
I was convinced free streaming devices were...
I'm curious about a kid from Brooklyn named Jeffrey Epstein.
Just stop a sec.
Yeah, it's the first of the month, and...
What's the message to Iran?
Don't.
What is your message to Iran in this moment?
Don't.
I'm gonna bomb the shit out of them. It's true. I don't care. I don't care.
A not so fun fact about slavery is that they would force the mothers.
I think the U.S. government probably has unlocked 0 point or close to 0 point energy, which would be pulling energy out of the vacuum. We have inventors that have done that over and over and over. And
making energy out of apparently nothing.
Well, we could start with, there's a man named Charles Pogue, who in the 30s tinkered with his carburetor and was able to get 200 miles a gallon. It was proven. It was engineers, investigated, scientists. It's totally proven. It worked. He was going to be a zillionaire or whatever. He's going to transform society. And the problem was, once the news of his engine got out, the oil stocks crashed. They just crashed. So the oil industry lobbied the U.S. government, we have to do something about this. And in 1951, the Invention Secrecy Act was passed. So now, if you patent any device that is more than 20% efficient, that's instantly classified. That is now a state secret. It's vital to national security. You can't talk about it. You can't build it. And you can't sell it unless you sell it to the U.S. military. You cannot do it. That went on for a while. And then there was a man named Tom Ogle. And Tom is, this is the 70s now. He accidentally rewires his lawnmower engine to take the exhaust and pump it back into the carburetor. And this thing runs on a gallon of gas for 78 hours or something like that. So he reconfigures his car. It's like a 1976 Ford Galaxy, you know, like a boat. And he's getting 200 miles to the gallon on the thing. He's offered $1 billion from an oil-producing country. Shell Oil offers him $25 million for the patent that he considers, but they're going to shelve it, so he says no. It's considered, you know, maybe one of the biggest inventions of the century. Suddenly, Tom, without a history of drug use, stumbles out of a bar. He's drunk and he's killed, and that's the end of Tom Ogle's story, and that all disappears. All that research goes away, and this repeats over and over and over again till we get to Stanley Meyer. And you might remember Stanley Meyer and the water car, because this is the 1990s now. So now we have a vehicle that we're not even talking about fossil fuels and protecting a multi-trillion-dollar industry. We've got a car that runs on water using electrolysis, which has been around since the 1700s. But electrolysis requires a lot of energy and perfect water without impurities. But Stanley's figured out how to take tap water, put it into his car, and run his car on water. And what it does is splits the water into hydrogen, oxygen, runs on hydrogen. Hydrogen is a fuel, it works. And it works, and he drives it all over the place. It's all over the news. Engineers look at it. They say, this is the invention of the century. This changes everything. He's offered $1 billion and millions of dollars, and everyone wants his engine. And he's sitting at a Cracker Barrel with his brother and some investors, and they raise a glass to toast the new investment to go into the future. And they take their toast, and Stanley suddenly doesn't feel well. He runs outside, he starts vomiting. His brother chases after him and says, what's going on? And Stanley says, they poisoned me, and he dies. And in the medical examiner's report, it says he died of an aneurysm. But if you read the report, you can tell the medical examiner didn't really like that, because he wrote some other stuff like, oh, he said he was poisoned, but toxicology doesn't really show it. But it says he died of an aneurysm. And that technology is now gone. The patent's useless because Stanley faked the numbers because he didn't trust the government, because he had another invention that most people don't know about before his water car, which was this toroid ring. A toroid is a donut. This donut-shaped ring that he invented that created energy out of nothing and levitated. But he patented it. It got hit with the Secrecy Act, and they made his life miserable. But people started to learn about that, and that brings us. There are other inventors in between. Townsend Brown invents this anti-gravity technology. He runs into all kinds of bad luck. All these men have their research stolen. They're broken into. They're carrying guns. They're threatened. They're disappearing. It happens over and over and over again. I have an episode on this. It's very sad. And we get to Floyd Sparky Sweet. He's my favorite, because his inventions, he videotaped all of his stuff. And you see him in his workshop. And Sparky, he's an engineer. He's a garage tinkerer, but he's an engineer. And this was supervised by a military physicist. Maybe it was a mistake. And you see him running a fan at high RPMs, and then he's got light bulbs, all of this energy, and it's all running off this little box the size of a deck of cards. And he puts in 0.03 milliwatts, and he gets out all the watts you want. It's a device that no matter what you attach to it, it just, whatever the need is, it will give you the energy. This is Sparky Sweet. This actually connects to UFO technology. I don't know if we'll go there, but it does connect. So Sparky's got this invention. He gets some help from a military physicist. Gets a visit late one night, 2 men in suits come talk to him, say goodnight. He has a heart attack. Ambulance comes, they grab Sparky. The wife is not allowed in the ambulance. He dies. Soon after, a couple of black vans pull up. They take all his stuff, all his notes, every piece of equipment, and it just disappears. And that's the last we hear of.
Explaining the iceberg of caves, starting off with Paris Catacombs secret tunnels. So I'm sure everybody knows about the Paris Catacombs. Beneath the streets of Paris, France, there are more than 6 million people buried in these tunnels. You can walk through and see it. But what a lot of people don't know is the reason they were built was because back in the 1700s, cemeteries were overflowing and contaminating the water supply, causing diseases. So they decided to transfer all the people buried here into this ancient mine beneath Paris. Because of this, there is a 1-mile stretch of catacombs that you can tour and see the people buried in. But this is connected to an additional 180 to 200 miles of underground tunnels that they like to say is a largely unexplored and extremely dangerous maze. And some of it's underwater, and it's crazy to think that this is a super old 1300s era tunnel of networks. It's so crazy. Glowworm Cave. So these are these caves in New Zealand that are famous for having all these little bioluminescent glowworms that light up on the ceiling of this cave, and this glow is produced by these larvae using this bluish green light to lure prey in, such as gnats and flies, to then stick to them so they can devour them. And they also use this bioluminescent to warn other predators that they are toxic. And anyways, it's crazy. It looks like a sky full of stars inside of a cave. Next we have the Cave of Swallows. So this is a cave that is so deep that a person without a parachute would take almost 10 seconds to free fall from the top to the bottom of the cave, which is a really long time to be in the air. This is the widest known cave shaft in the world, being almost 1,000 feet wide at the bottom and 1,200 feet deep. It is considered the 11th deepest sheer drop in the world, and because of this, it makes it a very famous base jumping spot, and you've likely seen a video of people jumping into this cave and then just like disappearing, but they end up opening their parachute before they hit the ground, of course. There's also an estimated 2 million birds that live in this cave and fly out each morning and then come back at night to rest. Jacob's Ladder. So this is a fully submerged underwater cave that is located in Texas, and it's considered to be one of the most dangerous in the world. So free divers will descend as much as 100 feet in this cave, which means, you know, they're just swimming down there with no oxygen, which is so dangerous. Like, I've only gone 80 feet with oxygen, and still, in a cave especially, that's so dangerous. But a big thing people do here is they will scuba dive and explore like 6,000 feet of passageways in this, and what's scary is there's a lot of false openings and areas that are so tight people have to take off their scuba tanks to get through them, which, you know, why you gotta do all that? Sadly, there's an estimated 12 people that have died in this cave, which, you know, scuba diving in caves is like one of the most, if not the most, dangerous sport in the world. World's deepest cave, Variavkina. So often called the Everest of caves, this is the newly recognized world's deepest cave, as it descends over 7,257 feet into the earth. Reaching the bottom of this cave requires weeks of vertical climbing and camping underground, and what's interesting about super deep caves like this is there's a limit to how deep these caves can actually get. Most of the time, caves will only reach the depth of about sea level before they start filling up with water, and so that's kind of the same with Variavkina. The only reason it got this deep is because it started at 7,500 feet above sea level. Subtropolis. So this is the world's largest underground business complex, being around 14 million square feet of space underground in a cave. And this place looks like the back rooms. I mean, it looks completely insane. This is 1,100 acres of an abandoned limestone mine that they converted into this complex. It's just northeast of downtown Kansas City and 160 miles beneath the ground. And the reason that they built this here is because it's pretty easy to control like the temperature and the environment of a massive cave like this. And so they use it to preserve different items such as Gone with the Wind and the Wizard of Oz original reels from the movie. The U.S. Postal Service and the National Archives also lease spaces in here to store their stuff as well. The Cheese Caves. So very similar to like the place Subtropolis, this is also in Missouri, in Springfield, Missouri. This is where the U.S. government stores over 1.4 billion pounds of cheese 100 feet deep in this limestone cave. This started around the 1970s, where the government was buying up all this milk to stabilize dairy prices, and so they started turning all this milk into cheese to preserve it better, and you know, that's known as government cheese, the cheese that they will give to low income individuals. And so still they have a whole bunch of this cheese in a cave in Missouri. And so yeah, finally we have the Yongyu Caves. So this was discovered in China in 1992. Local villagers started to drain some ponds in their area when they ended up finding 24 massive hand-carved caverns that really no one knows who built it. It possibly dates back to over 2,000 years ago. The way the walls are like precisely chiseled in this vertical alignment suggests that it was carefully carefully planned out on how to build it. And what's weird is this engineering effort must have required such enormous labor, but this site was completely forgotten, it seems. No tools have been found in this area. There are no written records of accounts of this cave other than this obscure poem from the 1600s that kind of seems to mention them. And we also don't know where the 1 million cubic meters of excavated rock went either. It just seems like it's gone. And the purpose of these caves still remains a mystery. Honestly, it's one of the weirdest things ever. It almost seems like it's some sort of hoax, but then again, it's like, how could it be a hoax? Like, if you watch videos of it, it's massive. It's so crazy. Anyways, I love caves, and these were all...
Therapy can be so daunting. In my
It is the mark of a villain. Kidnapping children is not what great nations do. Almost half of America at this moment believes there is a sinister deep state diabolically plotting to what? Give them health care? What is the sinister plan here? Sure, I can afford the miracle drug for restless leg syndrome. I should take the pills, I guess. We in America are misinformed. Reality shows have warped our idea of what a hero is, or what the truth is. So tonight, I'd like to dedicate this award to those who remind us of our virtues, who remind us of the truth, to Sir Charles Chaplin, who battled McCarthyism into exile, to Christopher Steele, who tried to pull a thorn out of the paw of an ungrateful beast, to Christine Blasey Ford, to Colin Kaepernick. He'll stand for the anthem when the anthem stands for him. And to one of my friends, my good friends, and one of the greatest artists of our time, Robert De Niro, whose life was threatened also this week, along with many other incredibly decent people who bring joy to the world, who've been dedicated to it for years, for decades. How dare they besmirch those people? How dare they? We can do better than this. I know this wasn't funny, but it's not very funny right now.
So I discovered this mind-blowing